So this is something that happened to my manager, but I'll tell it in the first person for the sake of brevity. Joe comes in and wants to see a room. Okay, I'm not busy, so I show him a couple. But he's giving off "I'm a creep" vibes, so I do the push the door open with one hand and take a step back maneuver so I don't get stuck in there with him. He looks at it and decides to stay. So we go back to the desk to get him checked in. Once at the desk, Joe asks, "Do you like my hat?" I say, "Yeah, it's nice." It's just a regular black winter hat, but apparently Joe isn't happy with that answer. So he leans forward and says, "Do you like my hat? Man, WTF. Yes, it's a nice hat." Joe then lifts up the hem of it to reveal a price tag. Did he steal it? This is my guess, lol. He goes to his room but doesn't stay there, unfortunately. He keeps coming back down to the desk to bother me, but he's really creeping me out. So I'm sitting in the office pretending I don't see him. Hell, I even lock the office door. But no, he keeps knocking on the sneeze guard at the desk and yelling for me. When I go out there, he just talks crazy shit. He told me about how he once applied to the FBI, but they rejected him. I wonder why. It's a mystery, y'all. Then he asks if we're hiring, to which I tell him we are not LMFAO. He says he's going out to get a ham sandwich, but we'll be back. Okay. He's out for 2 hours. When he comes back, he has a new hat. It's still the same style, winter hat, but it says FBI on it. He asks me if I like it. And when he asks, it honestly sounds like a threat. Yep, nice hat. He again lifts up the hem to reveal a price tag. WTF. Joe returns to his room. And then he calls the desk. He tells me that his P-tack isn't heating the room. I tell him to press the heat button and wait 15 minutes. He insists that he doesn't know how to do that. I repeat the same instructions. Joe gets pissed and says, "Do you think this is fucking funny?" "No, sir, I don't." "If you follow those instructions, the unit will heat your room." Joe hangs up and calls again after a few minutes, saying the unit still isn't working and he needs me to come up to his room to fix it. "Nope, no, I will not. I don't care if you're writhing on the floor in the throes of death. I'm not coming up to your room." I tell him no, I won't go up there. He hangs up and calls again and again and again. I ignore it and then silence. After 20 minutes or so, the phone rings again and he says his TV isn't working. "I'm sorry to hear that. I'll put in a maintenance request," and I hang up. He calls again. He tells me he doesn't know how to work the remote. That's unfortunate. Hang up. He calls again. Asks what this button and that button are for. I explain quickly. He asks me if I think this is fucking funny. "No, sir, I do not." He pauses a second and says, "You know I'd take care of you if you came up here." "Sir, what in the fuck?" "If you call the desk one more time, I'm calling the police." "Oh, please don't call the police. I'm so sorry, ma'am. Don't call the police." And he hangs up. The night auditor comes in and I tell him about Joe and instruct him not to go up to the room for anything. I lock the door as I leave so he's safe in there. As I'm leaving, the phone rings. NA picks it up and it's Joe. Joe asks NA to come up to fix his P-tack and NA says no. Joe, intrigued to hear a new voice, comes down to the desk and starts asking questions. "Why does your nose look like that?" "I had skin cancer." "Are you wearing earrings?" "Yeah." "Are you Jewish?" "Oh." And Joe just turns and goes back to his room. Not 5 minutes later, he calls the desk and asks NA, "Are you a fugget?" "No, sir, I am not." "You're fucked up." And Joe hangs up. I guess he was willing to settle for a man after being unsuccessful with me, lol. He calls down again a few minutes later and asks for the FBI's phone number, and I told him to Google it. "Do you think this is funny?" "You don't have a damn phone book." "No, sir, you'll have to Google the number." Joe hangs up. An hour later at like 1:30 a.m., he comes down to the lobby with a black duffel bag and a flashlight. He shines the flashlight all over the place, even in the NA's eyes, before saying, "Wish me luck." The NA says, "Good luck," and Joe disappears into the night. His name is promptly added to our DNR list. He doesn't come back. Later on, housekeeping goes into his room. It's clean, other than the garbage can. They find his FBI hat in the garbage can underneath an uneaten ham sandwich. And that's the saga of Joe, the crazy tweaker who should have been kicked out earlier, but if he had been, you all would have missed out on this wonderfully fucked up story. You're welcome.